जो है वो आमंत्रित आमंत्रित करता हूँ चेतन जी को। इसी ऑर्डर में हम लोग चलेंगे। आप प्लीज अपना प्रस्तुति शुरू करें। ऐसे आप।
दिखाई दे रहा है प्रेजेंटेशन मेरा।
जी जी,
हम्म।
आ रहा है अभी स्क्रीन पे। जी जी जी, अब दिख गया। और
हम्म।
समय का पूर्ण ख्याल रखें, नहीं तो फिर मैं जो है वो आपको 8th मिनट पे प्रॉम्प्ट कर दूंगा।
ऐसे और मैंने भी टाइमर रखा है।
जी
टाइमर
जी
के साथ ही चल रहा हूँ कि 10 मिनट के
जी
अंदर हो।
जी जी
यस,
जी,
मैं
बिल्कुल।
ध्यान रखूँ।
जी
एंड सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, नमस्ते टू ऑल ऑफ यू सभी को। एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच टू द पैनल मेंबर्स ऑफ 8th इंटरनेशनल रामायण कॉन्फ्रेंस फॉर एक्सेप्टिंग माय पेपर एंड गिविंग मी एन अपॉर्चुनिटी to serve, to share my thoughts over here. And so, if we notice, then in order to transform our world, United Nations in 2015 has considered a plan of action for people, planet, prosperity, and peace, plus partnership in order to shift the world into sustainable and resilient path by 2030. That's the goal. And accordingly, they have come out with 17 sustainable development goals, that is 17 SDGs. Now, the aim of this paper is to analyze Ramayana to present and showcase how each of these 17 SDGs could be traced back. We can track them during the era of Ramayana also. And it also illustrates that they were meticulously and very properly applied in ancient India also for sustainable development, even thousands of years ago. And accordingly, I have selected this topic, and the title of my topic is my paper is Before the United Nations SDGs Lessons in Sustainability from Ramayana. My code is R8152. And starting with this, the objective of this paper is primarily to systematically analyze Ramayana and identify narrative elements which corresponds with 17 SDGs. There are 17 development goals, sustainable development goals. Then it is to demonstrate that the ethical, social, economic, and ecological principles of Ram Rajya are very much similar to SDG framework, and trace how these sustainability related practices were concretely implemented in our epic era also. Plus, we find that the sustainability have deep roots in our Indian civilizational goals and wisdom. And accordingly, presenting Ramayan, which is based on governance as a holistic model, can inspire policy, education, and public ethics even today. The paper has been based on hypothesis that these 17 sustainable development goals are not a modern innovation, but a rediscovery of lifelong standing civilizational ideals which were there in the time of Ramayana also. And if we find about the literature review, there have been a lot of literature written and interpreted Ramayana as a civilizational blueprint for ethical governance and Ram Rajya. It has been examined that the epic through environmental lenses, showing how it promoted forests, rivers, and all that, they were taken care of. It explores psychological and leadership dimensions of Ramayana. Plus, people have also seen from feminist perspective, that is, women characters such as Sita, Shabri have been analyzed and discussed about. People have related Ramayana themes to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, where we find climate action, sustainable development, all these factors have been very well applied in Ramayana. And the literature confirms that Ramayana offers multi-dimensional insights. With find that the papers people have already studied with respect to all these matters. Now, the research methodology which has been applied has been primarily qualitative research method, descriptive study, and based on secondary data covering literature related to Ramayana and sustainable development goals. Now, if we find relevance, how these goals and Ramayana are connected. So, if we notice the first goal about no poverty, which mentions that the basic needs such as food, shelter should be taken care of. Ram Rajya ensured that all citizens in Ayodhya had their basic needs met. And currently, we also find the initiatives taken in India are Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. In case of zero hunger, it ensured food security and improved nutrition for all. Ayodhya Kingdom consistently highlighted wealth in terms of agricultural output. Plus, every citizen had enough food. Currently, we have National Food Security Act and PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Good health and well-being ensure reduced maternal and child mortality. Rishis and sages maintain holistic health practices by following yoga, meditation. And currently we have Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. In respect of quality education, it ensures inclusive and equitable quality education. In Gurukul, Shri Ram and his brothers received moral, spiritual, and practical education from sage Vasisht. And currently, we have National Education Policy of 2020 and Swayam platform is also there of government. In respect of gender equality, it empowers all women and girls by addressing systematic and structural barriers. Sita is a source of immense strength, wisdom, and resilience in Ramayana. And currently, we have Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and Mahila Shakti Kendra. In respect of clean water and sanitation, it ensures availability of sustainable management of water and sanitation. Ram Setu was built, the bridge to Lanka, in a collaborative, which is collaborative to eco-friendly engineering. The Vanar army uses natural material and avoids disturbing marine ecosystem. Currently, we have Jal Jeevan Mission. So we find Ramayana and SDGs are all interlinked, and currently we are following all those things by the government also. Then we find affordable and clean energy, which increases the share of renewable energy. And similarly, found that during Ramayana, sun, energy like sun, firewood, lamps were all used. And currently, we have renewable energy targets and Ujala scheme. In case of decent work and economic growth, it achieved full and decent work opportunities. We know we want currently in equal opportunities should be there, equal pay should be there. Sri Ram encouraged fair opportunities regardless of caste and background. He had integration with Vanars, local tribes, and all other people. While building Ram Setu, also we find that. Skill India Mission, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana is there, implemented in current times. Industry innovation and infrastructure promotes inclusive and sustainable industrialization, increasing employment and GDP contribution. Vanar Army, under the guidance of engineers like Nal and Neil, they constructed Ram Setu using locally sourced ecosystem, eco-sensitive materials and ingenious techniques. And currently we have PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. In respect of reduced inequalities, we focus on reducing inequality within and amongst countries by focusing on incoming disparities. Sri Ram did alliance with Sugriv, Hanuman, and Vanarami, integrating forest dwellers and marginalized groups. Aspirational districts program is currently followed by a country. Sustainable cities and communities. It considers making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. In Ram Rajya, the city of kingdom depicts harmonious, safe, and resilient and prosperous with justice, welfare, and sustainability. Currently, we have Smart Cities Mission. In respect of responsible consumption and production, it ensures sustainable consumption and production patterns. Shri Ram, Sita ji, and Lakshman ji followed a lifestyle of restraint, consuming only what is necessary. Currently, we follow Swachh Bharat mission and solid and liquid state waste management. In respect of climate action, we find that we need to take current action, urgent action in respect of climate changes which are happening. Even in Ramayana, we find that the epic underscores the negative outcomes of disrupting nature. And currently, we have national action plan on climate change and international solar alliances. With
एक
respect to
मिनट और है चेतन जी.
yes, in respect of life below water, we conserve water and sustainably use oceans. Sri Ram prays to ocean god and then he constructs bridge. We have deep ocean mission. Life on land protects and restores and promotes sustainable use of the land. Ramayana warns using against harming forest, wildlife, and accordingly the Rakshasas were killed. Project Tiger and compensatory afforestation fund management has been followed. With respect to partnership for goals, we strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize global partnership. In Ram Rajya, in Sri Ram, forms partnership with Sugriv, Hanuman, Jatayu, and Vibhishan, and others. And we follow Niti Ayogya and cooperative federalism. So, in conclusion, we find that Ramayana provides powerful philosophical and ethical foundation. The model of Ram Rajya adheres to Dharma, where social, environment, equity, environmental care, economic prosperity, peace, and partnership are taken care of. It shifts the focus from technical policy to implementation to an ethical and moral mandate. The epic demonstrates sustainability and the compassion, justice, responsibility are well central perspective and central aspect of current SDGs also and also of Ramayana. And it's a time-tested wisdom is provided by Ramayana that shows that the goals which are provided in SDGs are all attainable when both leaders and citizens follow righteous conduct, which we find in Ram Rajya also. And Ramayana functions as a culturally blueprint aligning ancient ideals with modern sustainability aspirations. That's all from my side. These are
Thank
the
you. Thank you, Chetan ji. धन्यवाद. The time.
references. Jai Sri Ram.
So, yes, here. So, people can post their questions on the chat box, and if individually one can answer, so yeah, definitely Chetan ji would love to answer. So now I invite the next presenter, Snehal Amol Junnarkar ji. Please, you may remove the slides, Chetan ji. धन्यवाद. So 8th minute पे मैं आपको prompt करूंगा. आपके पास 10 मिनट है.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
And my slides are visible?
Yes.
Okay.
You may make it full screen. Yeah.
Good evening to all. I'm Snehal Junnarkar. I'm going to talk about the role of human emotions and motives for sustainable invention and innovation, and what Ramayana tells about the emotions and motives. Currently, there are innovations, but the innovations are focused only on physical need or physical publications, physical innovation way. But their social, emotional, mental, and spiritual need and spiritual serve of that invention and a spiritual growth of researcher or inventor, that is lagging in current scenario, where technical knowledge is there, but technical knowledge with along with spirituality or learnings from the spiritual scripts like Ramayana can lead a future youth or inventors with physical health, mental balance, emotional well-being, and life balance. In Ramayana, primary motive of any innovation is to reduce human labor or help human or the environmental involved in the their ecology. But and generally the invention starts from need. The instrument is science and creation is invention. But in current VUCA scenario, there is uncertainty, and human emotions and motives are overlooked. We can take example of coronavirus or any blast or current the screen addiction inventions are going on. But how it is impacting our child's their psychology, that are less considered. So the inattention towards human side of invention is my concern. Current social media platforms are all boosting all shud reports. Our youths are not aware of shud reports. Many of children's from second standard to till youth, I don't know what are shud reports or how they are boosting shud reports with the inventions we are doing at a higher level. The peace and unity at global level with bioweapons, nuclear weapons are there in Ramayana. Nuclear weapons are there in Ramayana, but the way how it is implemented, the motives, and are very uh, holistic and considering. So the research, these are the references, literatures. The research gaps are Karma Shastra and innovation. Considering Ramayana teachings are lagging in current scenario, few studies link spirituality and innovation, but extensive understanding of researchers needs to be there. Studies of importance of Karma Shastra in designing the innovation strategy at a higher level should be there since pre-primary or primary level, because students are very technologically savvy at this point of time. Research objective is to understand how Karma Shastra facilitates managing innovations and to identify various teachings of Ramayana facilitating the human side of innovations. We can see the Ravana as a character. He has all the knowledge. He have superior innovative things with him. Like Pushpak Vivan, we don't have this type which can run at a Manovega. But they, uh, even though Ravana had Shadripus, he had Buddhi, Manas, and Chitta, which made him a strong politician or and king of Asura. But the motive and negligence towards human emotions of Sita or other kingdoms who he have acquired led his destruction. So, what innovation strategy we can learn from Ramayana, Ram Setu made are made with the a spiritual incline. So it has sustained till now. It's a 5,000 years of warranty. The Brahmastra missile, it has been started to destroy, but the motive behind it was very clear with Lord Rama. Hanumana, it's not about only researcher or inventor, but the guidance, the mentorship, the goal given by for the researcher should be clear, and they are in line with Ramayana teaching of Karma Shastra. So it can lead to a dharma and sustainability. The all these abilities of Hanumana are more. He understood that he have this ability when he met a mentor like Rama. So our students or innovators or any project team should have a leader who can mentor and guide that team towards dharma and sustainability. We, from the learnings of our literature, ancient literature, Ramayana, we had many invention in current time also.
2 minutes, Snehal ji.
Yes, sir. We have developed, Talpade Bandhu had developed flying plane. Maheshwar Sutrani, given in our, given by, in our Sanskrit Vyakarana, Ashtadhyayi, it can replace the Python or big data language, but the way it should be taught or innovation policy should be implemented should have understanding of Karma Shastra. So our finding is the true mentor, people oriented motive can lead sustainable invention and innovation. That's the teaching we can get from Ramayana. In 21st century, understanding of Karma Shastra behind any scientific invention and its innovation is crucial, because everybody is behind money and more market capture. It's not about money, but it's about Ramarajya. Behind being humble, importance of sacrifice, self-control. These are the qualities we should have in our researchers as well as innovation teams. Invention and innovation can lead to distraction if carried out without considering human emotions. We have corona example. We have current many suicides from the video games. So this should be uh, considered while designing innovation strategies. Leaders should understand human emotions while contributing world peace. Truthfulness, compassionate, sympathetic mentorship are the key, not only towards human as well as animals and our ecology. These are the teaching we get from our Ramayana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Snehalji. Well-timed presentation. Now I invite Prakash, Giri, Goswami ji. Are you there? Okay. So let's move on to the next paper. Prabhas, Ranjan ji, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead. Snehal ji, you may remove your slides, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, just a minute. Jai everyone.
Yes, it's visible. Please make it full screen. Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, my camera is not working, so I have to go with audio only. So my topic is from development to Dharma, sustainability lesson from Ramayana, the lessons of sustainability from Ramayana. Why Ramayana, to frame the problem, why Ramayana matters for sustainability. Actually, I have discussed episodes from Ramayana, and here I am just pointing the key ideas. Ramayana does not treat nature as property. It treats nature as shared order, a shared order. The crisis of sustainability is not only ecological, it is a crisis of Maryada. The problem today is because we are not putting ethical limits to ourselves. And that is a very much center idea or center lesson that we can draw from Ramayana. The text repeatedly shows when limits collapse, harmony collapses within self, society, and environment. So this is the base on which this my whole paper is built upon. So and then I move to the key concept that has been time and time again discussed within the story of Ramayana. So the key concepts are first one is rhythm. The rhythm is a cosmic order or rhythm that keeps the life coherent. Second one is Dharma, so the sustaining moral force that protects this rhythm. Maryada, the lived boundaries, self-restraint as the first ecological practice. So sustainability here means alignment, not mere resource management. As we see today, the sustainable development, the concept is resource management, how to ensure that the resource is available for the next generation or for generation in future, and the current environment can be maintained in optimal order. In place of that, now we are talking about alignment. How can we, as a human being, align with the nature? Forest is not a wasteland. Aranya is a classroom. This Aranya is as a moral ecology. In Ramayana, the forest is not a backward zone. It is a training ground for restraint. The life we discuss or we see the people around in this Ramayana, we see that their life in exile, they models simplicity, limited needs, humility, and adaptation. How they live in limited resources. Nature here is not used; it is dwelt with. We dwelt there with nature. A shift from domination to participation. We participate with the nature. We do not dominate. So in the contrast how the development mindset and the Ravana mindset, the way Ravan is presented in the text. So Ravan as archetype of unsustainable power. Ravana represents unbounded desire and unrestrained power. The abduction episode it symbolizes a deeper act, violating limits and relationships. Sustainability collapse when karma rules without dharma. So the message is ecological crisis mirrors ethical crisis. Second, Rama. When we come to Rama, the rule as protection, not position. The kinship in Ramayana is legitimately through lok kalyan, of people's good, public good. Authority is meaningful when it protects the vulnerable and preserves order. The ideal ruler is not maximizer of growth, but guardian of balance. So these are the essential message that come from Ramayana. Dharma becomes a government principle of sustainability. So, Ramayana-based sustainability framework, if we try to draw from sustainable development to dharmic sustainability, if we try to create a new model and move from sustainable development to dharmic sustainability, so what is modern sustainability? Regulate consumption from outside through policy and technology things. When Ramayana-based sustainability, when we talked about Ramayana-based technology, it regulates desire from inside. Or the three things, the three practical triad for today. One is mit bhog, moderation in consumption. Daya, compassion for living beings. Dharma, duty to preserve harmony. So these are the key practical triad. Ramayana offers the sustainability as character plus culture, not as targets. So this is the basic structure I try to collect at one place. So first one is development, second one is sustainable development, and third one is dharmic perspective that we draw from Ramayana. So view of nature is external resource, for sustainable development is a managed ecosystem, and from dharmic perspective that we draw from Ramayana, it is manifestation of Prakriti. So what is the human's role? Human role in development context is only producer and consumer. In sustainable development is guardian and manager. And in dharmic perspective, it is co-participant with. Motivation for action, क्या motivate करता है? For development, it is profit, comfort, progress. In sustainable development, it is survival, intergenerational justice. In dharmic perspective for Ramayana, it is Swadharma, righteous duty. Means of regulation, policy, law, technology, sustainable development, global agreement, education, and in dharmic perspective, it is self-restraint, sanyam, and tyag. So what is the end vision? The prosperity, development ka end vision is prosperity, sustainable development is continuity, and the dharmic perspective is cosmic harmony and liberation, that is moksha. So finally, I move to a broader and general structure of these three models. And I have explored the basis, what are the things that are the roots. For example, the ontological basis. It is materialistic and anthropocentric. Only human is the center of the world. So sustainable development, briefly broaden it by being ecologically aware. But the Dharma is cosmocentric, based. The goal is economic progress, modernization. In sustainable development, it is intergenerational equity. Sorry. And the Dharma, it is, sorry. Dharma, it is harmony with cosmic order. Ethical core, what is the ethical core of it? Utility, efficiency, and productivity for development context. In sustainable development context, it is prudence and balance. And in hermit, it is duty, restraint, harmony. That is the ethical code. Human nature relation, it is instrumental. Nature is as a resource, purely instrumental. In sustainable development, it becomes a stewardship. Human is a steward of the nature. Nature as managed asset. And in dharmic perspective, it is participatory, nature as kin. Temporal orientation, linear progress. Sustainable development also, it is linear but precautionary.
It's 1 minute for you now.
Okay. Dharmic is cyclic renewal. Agencies, state, market, technology, sustainable development, institution, global cooperation, but for Dharma, it is individual conscience, collective Dharma. What is the crisis point? Environmental degradation in context of development, that is the crisis point. Policy-based mitigation, sustainable development, and in Dharma, it is ignorance of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's S. Vijaykrishnan ji, Dharma and Ideal Polity, Social Sustainability through Shri Ram Rajya. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Jai Shri Ram.
Yes, Shri Ram.
Pranams
Yeah,
to all
please,
the
Prabhas ji, you remove your slide.
I'll share my screen.
Yes. Is it removed?
Not yet. Yeah. Yes, Vijaykrishnan ji, go ahead.
Is my screen visible? Yeah. Jai Shri Ram, everyone. A very good evening. My topic is to study the theme of social sustainability through the lens of the Shri Rama Rajya. And I'm specifically looking at the SDG framework from the social sustainability perspective. But before we go into SDGs and the modern applications, let us understand Dharma a little bit from Srimad Ramayana's perspective. So as we all know, Shri Rama Rajya has long been seen as a benchmark for a welfare state and, good governance. But is this applicable practically or is it measurable is what this paper aims to see. So if we look at our Shastras and Puranas, Dharma is seen as a balance, as a balancing factor and as a foundation of social order rather than the, the synonyms we give it today in terms of religion, duty. Yes, that is all there, but those are subsets. In essence, Dharma is first balance and social order. So Dharma is not just a list of do's and don'ts. It's not a checklist. It's a sustaining principle of creation, along with two other principles known as Rita, cosmic order, and Satya, it is truthfulness. These three things together sustain creation. And when we look at applicability, we have to see Dharma from two perspectives. One is Samanya Dharma, which we are all aware of, in terms of non-injury, that is Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Shaucha, Indriya Jaya, and obedience, which also, finds a large part in the Srimad Ramayana. And, Samanya Dharma is followed by all humans. In fact, that is what sets humans apart from animals. If you look at texts such as the Niti Shatakam, where Mahatma Bhartrihari says, eating, sleeping, and procreation is common for animals and humans. What sets humans apart? Dharmo Visheshaha, he says. But even in Dharma, there is something called Vishesha Dharma further, which is based on context. So let's learn simply from the Ramayana. If we had to see the point at which Sri Rama is sent into exile, he has been announced as the heir. But just to keep his father's promise, he upholds the word of his father and goes into the forest. If you look at the Acharya's explanations for this incident deeper, they say it is not that Sri Rama is giving up the Raajya there. He is still establishing Raja Dharma by going to the forest. As we see when the rishis meet him in the Dandakaranya, they say, wherever you are, wherever a prince is, whether in the palace or the kingdom or in the forest, Twamno Raja Janeshwaraha, you are a king everywhere. And even if you look at the basis of the Ramavatara, Sriman Narayana promises the Devas that he'll eradicate Ravana and establish Dharma. For that, he has to head to the forest. So Dharma is sustenance in any context, and that is Vishesha Dharma. Let us look at some broad themes of sustainability, that we see through the Ramayana as well. One is rule-bound authority, for which we have innumerable examples. Sri Rama is always a stickler for the rule as per the context. Second is lawful restraint. Just because one has authority and power, you do not exercise it indiscriminately. One beautiful instance is, before the Setu Bandha, when he requests permission from Varuna Deva and Varuna doesn't appear, he does lift the Brahmastra to strike, but he knows when to restrain when Varuna, requests supplication. Third is clemency. Clemency, a very rarely unseen parameter in today's narrative. Today, if political powers want to achieve anything, straight attack. A very recent example is the US's attack on Venezuela just for resource creation, right? Under various excuses. But Rama, even after a personal attack, this is a small incident that comes and described in the Sundarakanda, where a crow mauls and attacks Mata Sita. He's about to punish it with the Brahmastra, but out of compassion, in the end, he grants clemency. Justice. Ravana's killing is not a personal vendetta or only for the rescue of Mata Sita. He does it to establish larger justice and fairness in society. Other, inclusion. Where does Sri Rama stop in including other members or members across society? From a squirrel to Guha to Shabari to even Jatayu, you see that his compassion extends towards all sections of society. Refugee policies. Many see Vibhishna as a changeover or somebody who shifts sides. That is not the case. Vibhishna specifically seeks refuge. Sri Rama grants him refuge without demanding anything in return. So that is his refugee policy as an indicator of social sustainability. Accountability. Again, we have two great examples in the Ramayana. One is Mata Sita's Agni Pariksha. Today it is viewed from the social lens in various manners. But if you look at it from a sustainability perspective, Sri Rama as Raja ensures that he must be above everyone. He must rise above the common talk. So to set accountability, he even separates from his wife. Banishing is another appellation, but let us look at it as mutually separates from his partner, just to ensure an example of accountability. Lastly, compassion. Compassion has numerous examples, as we have seen. His compassion exceeds even to Ravana at a point where he says, if Ravana seeks refuge as per the code, I will grant refuge even to him. So, essence is that Ramarajya presents examples of ethical leadership, where this comes from a beautiful dialogue between Sri Bharata and Sri Rama in the 100th Sarga of the Ayodhya Kanda, where it's a rapid-fire dialogue between the two, where Sri Rama outlines various themes of how a kingdom must be conducted. Let us look at some of them which relate to modern sustainability principles. One is ethical leadership. Anyone in power or the very structure of power must be manned by qualified people, incorruptible. Wages must be given on time, to maintain social stability and productivity. If one arm of the state or leg of the state is rendered unstable, the whole society is rendered unstable. Economic and resource stewardship. While the state must look to tax and maximize revenue, waste must be minimized and welfare must be reached out to the intended beneficiaries, not taken hold of by the state for its selfish ends. Holistic state security. Sri Rama lays specific emphasis on keeping the army satisfied, so that the political and political preparedness and the strength of the kingdom is reinforced. And lastly, ecological health is also necessary. So he argues against indiscriminate waste or destruction of ecological resources just to achieve the state's ends. And to conclude that dialogue, he presents a very encapsulated model of the Raajya or the kingdom, where he outlines 7 legs of the Raajya, the Raja, followed by the ministers who carry out the king's commands, his allies and friends. The Raja must have strategic alliances, as today also we see. Geopolitical alliances are very much ensured, needed to ensure national stability and social sustainability. Treasury. A Raajya needs income in terms of tax and other revenues. Territory indicates sovereignty and ensures sustainability. Last 2 legs are forts and armies. In today's context, it would be, the governance, presence of governance in various areas would be comparable to these 2 legs. So, in essence, the dialogue between Bharata and Sri Rama is a comprehensive guidebook on various aspects of statecraft from a point of view of social sustainability. Now, let us look at 4 legs of social sustainability. First is ethical leadership. Sri Rama honors, not only his father's promise, but he reminds Bharata that it is a promise of our father, to your mother's mother that you will be crown prince. So he shows an example by upholding treaties or legal accords. Filial piety, Pitruvakya Paripalana. He prioritizes his father's word and gives up every form of power and luxury and establishes Dharma. Leadership through delegation. If we see the Ramayana, there are various instances where he kind of sets Dharma, Valivadha, and even in Lanka, prior to the Ravanavada itself, he coronates Vibhishna as the future king of Lanka. He delegates. He does not. Huh?
It's 2 minutes more for you now.
Okay. Then last is justice without vengeance. Second pillar is inclusion, justice, and welfare. For the interest of time, I would just browse through these pillars and come to the conclusion. The third pillar is accountability, where, as we have seen through the Agni Pariksha and the latest separation from Mata Sita, he only demonstrates his transparency. The fourth is refuge and reconciliation. He does not wage war out of interest for power. He only does it to ensure justice. And Vibhishna Sharanagati is also an exemplary example of how he protects Dharma and sustainability. How does it apply today? Today, we have used the various, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to arrive at a score for social sustainability. We have looked at 8 SDGs specific to social sustainability, then moved on to a scoring model which combines, the empirical score, which is fairness in wages, restraint in consumption, modern parameters, and looked at 30% qualitative parameters from the Ramayana instances. This gives us a scoring scale where we treat Ramarajya as a benchmark, not as a comparison. And then we compare it with the world as well as India on parameters such as governance, inequality, corruption, etc. Finally, we put it through an ESG model where we picked up parameters from within the SDGs for all these 3 pillars. And for each pillar, we have chosen 4 parameters. So 4 by average. And then when we combine these 12 parameters and divided by 3, we arrive at this ESG score for each pillar: environmental, social, and governance. Finally, we found out that while in terms of infrastructure development or modernity, both the world and India are on almost par with Ramarajya. We do trail in terms of corruption, fairness, law and order, etc. So we are only halfway through there. The current world as well as the Indian state is only halfway through the Ramarajya benchmark or ideal set in the Srimad Ramayana. So key takeaways: Ramarajya is a gold standard, but that doesn't mean that it is utopian or unattainable. What we must show is that while we progress in terms of infrastructure and reducing poverty or ensuring technological progress, we must show resource restraint, consume resources fairly, reduce inequality, and keep a stable environment and ecological framework for to get more nearer to the Ramarajya ideal. That's all from my end. Thank you for the opportunity. Dhanyavadaha.
Thank you. Well done.
Okay.
So next presenter would be Mrinal Srivastava. Are you there? I think she's not there.
Yeah, I am here, sir.
You are
Jai
there.
Shri Ram, sir.
Yes, Ram. So please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Respected chairperson, respected all co-participants, Jai Shri Ram to all. My paper, I'm going to read it out, sir. I'm going to present the paper. I do not have a PPT. I didn't know that the PPT was mandatory. Is it so?
No. It's not at all mandatory. Please go ahead.
I'm going to speak on the role of nature in Sri Ramcharitmanas, an eco-critical study. This paper offers an eco-critical and philosophic study of Goswami Tulsidas' Sri Ramcharitmanas, a pivotal text in medieval Indian devotional literature. By examining the poem's portrayal of forests, rivers, mountains, and animals, this study explores how Tulsidas constructs an integrated vision of divine ecology grounded in bhakti, devotion, dharma, righteous duty, and prakriti, that's nature. The analysis reveals that Sri Ramcharitmanas is not merely a religious or mythological narrative, but a profound ecological scripture that celebrates the unity of all creation. Combining Western eco-critical frameworks with Indian spiritual philosophy, this paper argues that Tulsidas anticipates the modern concept of eco-dharma, a moral and spiritual responsibility towards the preservation of nature. In the contemporary age of ecological crisis, literature offers crucial insights into how human beings can reimagine and reform their relationship with the natural world. The discipline of eco-criticism, as defined by Cheryl Lotfelty, is, I quote, the study of the relationship between literature and the physical environment, unquote. While Western eco-criticism emerged from the environmental movements of the late 20th century, Indian literature has already articulated an environmental ethic centuries earlier through texts like the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Goswami Tulsidas' Sri Ramcharitmanas, written in 16th century in Awadhi, reinterprets the Ramayana through a devotional lens, presenting Ram not merely as a divine hero, but as the embodiment of Dharma and cosmic harmony. Within this epic, nature is not a passive backdrop but a living presence, revered, responsive, and spiritually charged. This paper seeks to explore the role of nature in Shri Ramcharitmanas through an eco-critical and philosophic ecological framework. The study aims to answer three questions. How does Tulsidas depict nature as a moral and spiritual force? What philosophical worldview underlies this ecological vision? In what ways does this vision anticipate modern ecological consciousness? Through textual analysis of select verses, supported by modern ecocritical theory and Indian philosophical perspectives, the paper argues that Tulsidas constructs a sacred ecology rooted in bhakti, where environmental stewardship becomes a spiritual obligation. Modern eco-criticism, as developed by scholars like Cheryl Lotfelty, Lawrence Buell, and Greg Gerard, emphasizes the study of literature as a means of understanding human-nature relationships. Buell's concept of environmental imagination suggests that texts shape how societies perceive nature and define ethical responsibility towards it. In the Indian context, thinkers such as Kapila Vatsyayan, Vandana Shiva, and Radhakrishnan have emphasized the deep ecological consciousness embedded in Hindu philosophy. The Vedic and Upanishadic traditions view the universe as an organic whole governed by Rita, cosmic order, where all beings, humans, animals, and plants share divine essence. Tulsidas' Ramcharitmanas operates within this metaphysical framework. His understanding of Prakriti, nature, is both devotional and philosophical, merging the emotional depth of bhakti with the intellectual vision of Advait. By analyzing nature in this context through an ecocritical lens, one discovers an early articulation of what contemporary philosophers like Arne Naes would call deep ecology, a worldview grounded in interdependence and intrinsic value of all forms of life. Nature in Sri Ramcharitmanas is a living presence. In Sri Ramcharitmanas, nature exists as a sentient being. The forests, rivers, mountains, and even winds are conscious participants in the divine narrative. When Ram enters the forest, nature rejoices. When adharma prevails, the natural world trembles. In Doha 19 of the Aranyakand, Ram dekhi ban bhaye sukhari, jani prabhu aaye ban pari. The translated meaning is, the forest grew glad at the sight of Ram, knowing that the Lord had come to dwell among them. This verse captures the Ramcharitmanas' ecological ethos. Nature recognizes the divine presence and responds emotionally. Such personification of the environment conveys an early recognition of ecological sentience, the awareness that nature is not inert matter but a living sacred entity. Through this lens, Tulsidas transcends anthropocentrism. His Ram is a divine human who harmonizes with nature, demonstrating that spiritual greatness lies in coexistence, not domination. There is a sacred symbiosis, the interconnected cosmos. Tulsidas' worldview is rooted in cosmic interconnectedness, a central tenet of Indian philosophy. Every being, from the smallest insect to the highest mountain, embodies the same divine consciousness. The poet's frequent use of natural imagery, lotus, moon, river, forest, symbolizes the cyclical, self-renewing rhythm of the cosmos. In the 25th Doha of Balkand, Jalaj Jivante Sabhi Jiva, Hari ke Roop Ananta Vibheva. All living beings draw life from the waters. They are forms of Hari's infinite glory. The ecological resonance is unmistakable. Life depends on water, and water itself is divine. The understanding mirrors the Rigvedic sentiment, Apohistha Mayobhua. Water is the source of joy and life. In this way, Sri Ramcharitmanas presents an eco-theology that integrates spiritual reverence with social interdependence. The earth, Bhumi, and water, Jal, are not to be possessed but worshipped. Meaning, close this door. Human-nature relationship in Tulsidas' vision. For Tulsidas, humanity is part of nature, not its ruler. His vision of the human-nature relationship rests upon Dharma, the moral order that sustains the universe. When humans live in harmony with Prakriti, they uphold Rita. When they violate it, chaos ensues. In the 19th Doha of Aranyakand, Ram dekhi ban bhaye sukhari, the forest rejoiced at Rama's sight. Ram embodies ecological virtue, humility, compassion, and harmony. His exile in the forest symbolizes a return to balance, where simplicity replaces luxury and coexistence replaces exploitation. This vision resonates with RNS's deep ecology, which values all forms of life for their intrinsic worth. Yet, Tulsidas' ecology goes further, grounding this reverence in bhakti, devotional love that sanctifies all existence as divine. Tulsidas transforms geography into theology. Natural spaces, Ayodhya, Chitrakoot, the Sarayu, and the ocean become spiritual landscapes where divinity manifests. In 99th Doha of Ayodhya Kand, चित्रकूट के घट सुंदर निराभरी नदी है, नदी नहीं, बन फूले भरे तरुफल पका मधुप गवत बनी. The slopes of Chitrakoot were fair, washed by pure rivers, forests bloomed, trees bore fruits, and bees sang their honeyed songs. Nature here mirrors moral and spiritual order. Harmony in the landscape reflects divine grace. The river Sarayu is addressed as Mother, embodying the sacred reciprocity between humans and environment. In the 87th Doha of Ayodhya Kand, Sarayu Mata Samadhana Kena Kari Pranama Bahubhava. He bowed before Mother Sarayu with deep devotion and peace. This gesture sanctifies nature through reverence, a form of ritual ecology where devotion is inseparable from environmental respect. Nature in Sri Ramcharitmanas functions as both moral agent and symbolic teacher. Harmony in the environment reflects virtue, disturbance mirrors sin. In the 191st Doha of Balkand, Pulapal Bhare Banabari, Hari Janma Bhayo Anupam Pyari. The forests bloomed, the waters sparkled with joy, for the beloved Lord Hari was born. Here nature rejoices in moral renewal. Conversely, during Ravana's tyranny, in Lanka Kand, the 25th Doha, Bhayo Andakar Madhyani Sahi, Pavana Chalyo Bhayanak Bhari. Darkness spread at noon, fierce winds blew, the earth trembled beneath the weight of sin. Thus, moral imbalance results in ecological disruption. A principle.
2 more minutes, please.
Excuse, yes, sir.
2 more minutes, please.
Yes, thank you, sir. To environmental ethics today. Tulsidas fuses Advait philosophy with bhakti devotion, envisioning nature as the divine body of Ram. His ecological philosophy rests on non-dualism. To harm nature is to harm God. Hari Anant Hari Katha Ananta, Kahi Sunahi Bahu Vidhi Sab Santa, Balkand Doha 35. The Lord is infinite, and so are his forms. Saints speak of him in countless ways. For Tulsidas, these countless forms include the multiplicity of the natural world. Bhakti thus becomes eco-bhakti, transforming devotion into ecological reverence. Dharma in this framework becomes eco-dharma, a moral responsibility to preserve creation's balance. His ecological vision parallels Vandana Shiva's ecofeminism and Thomas Berry's communion of subjects. Humanity as servant of creation must embody humility and stewardship rather than mastery. This synthesis of Bhakti, Dharma and Prakriti forms Tulsidas' spiritual ecology, a sacred cosmology anticipating the modern ecological consciousness. Sri Ramcharitmanas articulates one of the earliest and most profound ecological visions in Indian literature. Tulsidas perceives nature as divine, moral and sentient, a reflection of cosmic order and a participant in divine play. Through his poetic theology, he transforms devotion into ecological ethics and transforms ecology into devotion. The harmony between humans and nature, grounded in dharma and bhakti, constitutes what may be called eco-dharma, the sacred responsibility to sustain the balance of creation. The flourishing of forests and rivers in Rama's presence and their turmoil in Ravan's reign symbolize the moral ecology of the universe. Tulsidas' philosophy anticipates...
Please conclude. Please conclude.
Yes, sir. Sri Ramcharitmanas thus stands not only as a devotional classic, but as a scripture of ecological wisdom, an enduring testament to the unity of spirit and soil, the soul and cosmos. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. So I invite now Sri Raman Chandramouli. Are you there?
Yes, Vinay, thank you very much. Jai Shri Ram. So I'm just going to share my screen on a different system so that it is hopefully that's okay.
Yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
Just starting. रक्षिता स्वस्य धर्मस्य स्वजनस्य च रक्षिता वेद वेदांग तत्वज्ञः धनुर्वेदे च निषिता this is a sloka from the very beginning of the Ramayana, that is the Sankshepa Ramayana, wherein in detail Vālmīki is told about the qualities of Rama. And the highlight of this sloka is that we are talking about the Dharma that Rama protects and why it is
Can you
important.
make it full screen, please? Can you make it full screen? Yeah.
So, okay, this presentation is being made in support with Vijaykrishnan. Both of us prepared this topic, and though he looked at an angle of social sustainability in full strength, this one looks at economic sustainability with respect to SDG. And we are looking at it at an angle from the bee and the gardener economic sustainability framework in the Vālmīki Ramayana. That is typically we have analyzed the various vrittis of economics as mentioned in the Arthashastra, that is the Madhukara vritti, Malakara vritti, and Hahakara vritti, and how it is presented across the Ramayana and how it is going to be useful or which is going to be better placed in the current world, and how ideal is the Rama's economic model. Okay. That's the vision that we are trying to present across today. So again, another shloka. This is from the Kaushalya Mangala Shasanam, which I wanted to showcase today, which directly shows how Rama was protecting the world. Yam palayasi dharmam tvam dhritya cha nemena cha swai ragavashardula dharmastvam abhirakshatu. So Kausalya actually says that whatever dharma that you have been protecting till date, let that dharma protect you, Rama. And this is the same concept that resonates across all our epics, even the Mahabharata, wherein you have a very famous term, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. And the same thing has been mentioned even in the Ramayana, wherein Kausalya says that for Rama. And why did everyone talk about that? That is because Rama was loved by everyone. And why was Rama loved by everyone? That is because the way he was ruling, or even before he started ruling, how he was behaving with his subjects. Okay. So coming back to the topic, as I mentioned, we have looked at the three vrittis or the economic models that have been mentioned in the Arthashastra, and in turn, it has been referenced in various places across the Ramayana. And how we have compared it is what we are looking at. So there are three ways an economic model can exist. The first one is the Madhukara vritti, that is how a bee saves honey. So a bee will be going in and sucking the honey from a flower, but it will not harm that particular flower at all. So the flower will also be safe. At the same time, the bee will also collect the honey. And it means it is complete non-exploitation, and it also means self-sufficiency for that bee and the honey. This vritti you can see across the Ramayana, followed by various rishis and munis and so many other people, and also by Rama when he was living in the forest. He was sustaining on the roots and shoots across available in the forest, or whatever was available in the forest, and he did not go in and ensure that there was a whole army creating things for him across the forest. Next one is the Malakara vritti, which can be practiced even today, and which was actively practiced across Ayodhya, across various welfare states in the Ramayana, including Vali's Kishkinda tried to follow it, and even to some extent Ravana's Lanka tried to follow it, wherein they were actively nurturing a plant, that is agriculture, doing agriculture. Though agriculture also means that we might be harvesting some plant by itself, or the trees by itself will be cut down for creating farmlands. Malakara vritti helps in sustaining a large population per se, and it helps in growth, which Madhukara vritti might not directly help in the growth of population, but Malakara vritti also helps in the growth of population. Finally, the Hahakara vritti, which I fear most of us are following today, that is destroying the entire forest for the sake of some firewood. So again, an example in the Ramayana, you can see Tatakavana in the Balakanta, wherein you can see that the entire Tatakavana was completely destroyed and there was nothing remaining in Tatakavana when Rama went to visit. Moving on. So what is this? Why are we talking about all these, and what is quantify? How can we quantify this? So Dharma is actually a quality. It is not a quantity. It is not something that is quantifiable. But we thought about this. We know that when it comes to economics, it has to be quantified. I cannot talk about GDP without quantifying a number. So how can I quantify it is what we were working on. And we compared it with the SDG model that has been presented. And we came across in this formula. That is, and based on this formula, we have actually identified 5 dharmic pillars that if everyone follows, which it will be very supportive for a healthy environment across the nation, and will also align us to a dharmic nature such that the economic growth also happens as it happened in the Ramayana times. And at the same time, it also means that there is no overconsumption, there is no over exploitation or extraction, etc. So the 5 dharmic pillars, the first is the ethical consumption. That is, ensure that there is moderation of usage of resources and not overconsumption. Like, for example, I will put it this way. Everyone needs an umbrella when it is raining, but it doesn't mean that we need multicolored umbrellas to be resting in our houses. So if I can put it in a more modern concept right now, all of us have clothes, but when you compare it with what our grandparents had, I think most of our grandparents were satisfied with 2 or 3 sets of clothes that they were wearing every day, every other day, and 1 pair of clothes that they would wear for special occasions. But today, for every special occasion, we go out and buy new sets of clothes, which is overconsumption. Next, social harmony, wherein there is a difference between collaboration and fragmentation. Again, social harmony depends more on collaboration rather than fragmentation. It might mean that there is more economic growth because of fragmentation. You have individual families living in, which means that there are more housing growth, etc. But that doesn't mean that you will have to overexploit the economy or overexploit the natural resources to achieve that. Next, just wages. Again, it depends on 2 things: immediate payment versus labor exploitation. You can see labor exploitation happening very commonly across today, wherein we don't pay just wages, and we are also ensuring that though we pay wages, it is paid very late or things like that. Next, ecological reciprocity, which is more of nurturing than extraction. Again, referring to the Malakara Vritti, wherein we grow our plants just so that we take the food from it. It is not for cutting down the trees so that we burn the forest. Finally, institutional integrity, which is completely lost today. Sadly, there is no institutional integrity when politics comes into play. Moving on, the B versus modern waste. So the biggest difference that we found is that we don't have responsible consumption, as I pointed out in the previous examples.
You have two more minutes, please. 2 more minutes.
I'll just make it quicker. So there is a lot of production that is happening. So we just did a modern scoring across. The modern score is 2.5 out of 10, wherein there is a lot of single-use things that are created, like single-use plastics, etc. And they are not planned or disposed of properly. But in Raajya, everything was made in such a way that it was reused completely. They practice Madhukara Vritti and Malakara Vritti. How we can achieve it is by using local products, using biodegradable resources, etc. Example, when Rama was actually building a bridge in Sri Lanka to go to Sri Lanka, modern SDGs track employment, they often overlook the dignity and timelines. Like what happens is we often work for long hours, which is actually leading to high corruption and inequality, wherein some people will not be able to work long hours, etc. Again, Rama in Ayodhya Kanta has actually detailed about all these things to Bharata, which has been explained in greater detail in our paper. And the dharmic solution is treating labor not as a cost, but as a community that has to be sustained. Finally, resource stewardship. I just wanted to highlight on this concept. Rama actually talks about an elephant forest, wherein they grow elephants in a particular area of a forest. Reason for it is that it is not a waste of the resource of the forest, but actually what happens is this forest is going to be useful in warfare. This is going to be useful in wherever they are going to use elephants, etc. So it is about thinking long term and developing areas for ecological sustainability. One
Please
last
conclude.
thing.
Please conclude. Yeah.
Last thing, Raajya economics was at 10, score of 10. But modern India, we are looking at it to be at 5.06%, and the global average at 4.83%. Our aim to, we might not be able to meet the 10 guidelines of Ramayana times, but we should bring in sustainability and we should bring in harmonious growth across the world so that we can at least achieve 6 or 6.5. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So the next presenter would be Manashi Ghosh. Are you there? Shri Ramanji, please remove your slides. Yeah. Manashi Ghosh, are you there?
Manashi may be joining late, and as well as Tulsee, Giri, Goswami. They just sent me a
Right.
message.
Right. Okay. So let's go for the other presenter. That is Rachna. Are you there? Rachna? Okay.
Sir, am I
So,
audible?
you are, yes.
Sir, I am here. Okay. Good evening, sir.
Okay.
Good evening to all of you.
Can you switch
And
on your camera, please? Yeah.
okay, sir. Sir, am I visible now?
Yes, you are. Please.
My topic is the earth does not belong to us. We belong to earth, an eco concern in Ramayana. The Ramayana, one of the most revered epics of Indian civilization, is not merely a tale of dharma, devotion, and heroism. It is also a profound ecological test. Its narratives reflect a worldview where nature is sacred, interconnected, and inseparable from human existence. The statement, the earth does not belong to us, but we belong to earth, captures the ecological humility embedded in the epic, reminding us that humanity is not the master of nature, but a participant in its eternal cycle. From Vālmīki's grief at the killing of a bird to Sita's birth from the furrow of the earth, the Ramayana consistently portrays forests, rivers, mountains, and animals as living entities deserving reverence. The exile of Rama, Sita, and Lakshman into the forest is not simply a political or moral episode, it is an immersion into ecological living where harmony with the environment becomes a form of dharma. The epic against exploitation and greed, symbolized by Ravana's hubris, and celebrate stewardship, resistance, and respect for diversity. In today's age of climate crisis, the ecological wisdom of the Ramayana acquires renewed relevance. Its vision anticipates modern principles of sustainability, teaching that ecological imbalance arises when humans forgets their place within nature's web. By revisiting this ancient text, we rediscover an ethic of humility and stewardship. The earth is not our possession, but our mother, our sustainer, and our ultimate refuge. The Ramayana constantly portrays forests, rivers, mountains, and animals as divine entities rather than inert resources. Aranyakand, Book of the Forest, in the Ramayana is the richest section of exploring eco-concern. It vividly portrays forest life, human nature, relationship, and the ethical responsibility of living in harmony with the environment. Ram, Sita, and Lakshmana's exile is not punishment but a return to nature. The forest becomes a space of dharma and learning where human beings must adapt the rhythms of the natural world. Their life in the forest reflects humility. They live simply, relying on fruits, roots, and rivers, embodying sustainable living. The forest is depicted as tapovan, a place of penance, meditation, and spiritual growth. Hermitages thrive in balance with wildlife, showing that human settlements can coexist with ecosystems without exploitation. Forest is not hostile wilderness, but a sanctuary of biodiversity and spiritual energy. Uh, in Sundarkand, Hanuman's leap across the ocean is one of the most celebrated episodes of Sundarkand. His journey highlights the immensity and sacredness of natural landscapes. Oceans, mountains, and skies are not inert backdrops but living forces that test and support him. The ocean itself is invoked as a sentient entity, offering passage when Hanuman prays, showing that nature responds to humility and devotion. Hanuman rests on Mount Menka, which rises from the ocean to offer him respite. This episode illustrates that mountains are living being with agency, capable of compassion and support. It reinforces the ecological ethic that humans are not separate from nature but part of its network. As Hanuman enters Lanka, he encounters lush groves, gardens, and forests. These landscapes are described with reverence, showing that abundance and fertility of nature even in enemy territory. The Ashoka groves, where Sita is kept, become a sacred ecological space, a site of resilience, hope, and communion with trees and plants. Sita's presence in Ashoka's grove symbolizes her deep bond with nature. She draws strength from trees and plants, treating them as a companions in her suffering. This reflects eco-feminist values. Women and nature share resilience, nurturing power, and vulnerability under domination. Her prayers to the earth and trees embody the truth that human belongs to the earth and thus earth sustains them in times of crisis. Lanka, surrounded by lush forest and guarded by natural barriers, represents both the bounty and fragility of ecosystems. Ravana's violation of Dharma, abduction of Sitas, and exploitation of resources symbolizes human arrogance against nature balance. Ayodhya, the realm of Lord Rama, the people of Ayodhya were leading a lifestyle which was a combination of rural and urban. These people had all the civic amenities which were required for a reasonable and comfortable living. Their life was balanced and people used their intellect but also adhered to their intuition. They did not believe in a materialistic, gaudy, and flashy display of wealth, but in an ethical framework. uh, Equality, fraternity, simplicity, satisfaction, and prosperity while ensuring sustainability. They were leading a peaceful and prosperous life without harming the flora and fauna of the region, which has been described as Sanskriti. Kiskindha, which was called the kingdom of Vanaras, was the embodiment of living in harmony with nature, which was visible in their dwelling of food habits. It was rich in biodiversity, and the flora and fauna of the region were well preserved. In Ramayana, there is also reference of Madhuban forest protected by the rulers of Kiskindha. In Kiskindha, there were many skilled leaders like Hanuman, Sugriv, Vali, Nal, and Neel, who were well versed in various fields of law, administration, engineering, geography, psychology, and spirituality. The dwellers of Kiskindha were very simple, honest, innocent, healthy, and powerful. They behaved and acted spontaneously. They were living a harmonious life without destroying the flora of the region. A framework of equitable laws of nature was followed in Kiskindha, which has been described as Prakriti. The kingdom of Lanka was ruled by Ravana, who was very egoistic and demonic tendency. Like Ravana, the inhabitants of Lanka were very greedy, dishonest, egoistic, and self centered. They were only concerned about their pleasure and happiness. They were only concerned about their happiness. They did not care about the well being of their society and environment. There were no harmony and sustainability in their way of living. In Lanka, there was an ugly, gaudy, and flashy display of wealth and consumerism in its urban area that is called the Vikriti. As a result, we may observe that the Ramayana depicts the protagonist and other people's environmental consciousness, while the culture we live is engrossed with the
You
capital.
have 2 more minutes, please. 2 more minutes, please.
Yes, sir. I am concluding. The
Yeah.
Ramayana, beyond its mythic grandeur and moral lessons, offers profound ecological wisdom. The narrative constantly reminds us that human life is inseparably bound to the rhythms of nature. Forests are not merely backdrops, but living sanctuaries. Rivers are not just pathways, but sacred lifelines. Animals are not incidental, but integral companions in Dharma. The exile of Rama into the forest, the reverence shown to rivers like the Ganga and Godavari, and the ecological symbolism of Vanaras and Rakshasas all highlight a worldview where nature is sacred, not subordinate. Thus, Ramayana anticipates modern eco-critical concerns. It warns against anthropocentric arrogance and affirms that the earth is not a possession but a shared home. To belong to the earth is to accept responsibility for its preservation, to live with humility, and to recognize that Dharma itself is incomplete with ecological balance. In today's age of climate crisis, this ancient wisdom resonates with urgency. The Ramayana's eco-ethical reminds us that the sensibility is not a modern invention but a timeless truth. We are custodians, not owners of the earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would invite Aparak now to present his paper. Aparak, go ahead.
प्रणाम सर, सभी को चरण स्पर्श। और मैं शुरू करना चाहूँगा। हेलो, ऑडिबल आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
जी
कहो
सर।
अपराग।
जी सर, my topic is sustainability from the perspective of Ramayana। और इस पे हम बात करना चाहेंगे एक्चुअली बस। एक मिनट
स्लाइड्स
सर।
अगर हैं तो स्लाइड शेयर कर सकते हैं आप।
नहीं सर, स्लाइड्स अभी नहीं, वो सिस्टम में थी, सिस्टम में।
अच्छा ठीक, तो आप ऐसे ही बोलो। हाँ प्लीज।
जी सर। सर तो अभी कुछ दिन पहले मैं एक डॉक्यूमेंट्री देख रहा था, मिनिमलिज्म करके। तो इट वाज अबाउट कि हाउ वी आर रिड्यूसिंग आवर यूजेस एंड ऑल। उसमें उन्होंने पहले डॉक्यूमेंटेशन दिखाया कि कैसे ज़्यादा कंज्यूम करना ही सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है इस समय सस्टेनेबिलिटी के लिए। एज वी ऑल नो कि सस्टेनेबिलिटी मतलब वही है कि हम अभी थॉटफुली कंज्यूम करें सो वी कैन सेव फॉर आवर अपकमिंग जनरेशंस। तो उसमें पूरे मतलब हाफ डॉक्यूमेंट्री तक उसमें यही था कि हाँ, उन्होंने डॉक्यूमेंटेशन दिखाया कि कैसे उन्होंने अपने रिड्यूस किए यूजेस को और फिर वो कम करते जा रहे हैं ताकि वो ज़्यादा देर सर्वाइव कर सकें। लेकिन आधे समय तक मैं यही सोचता रहा कि अगर ये सब चीज़ें अगर अभी तक ही अगर sorry sir, if we will do it forcefully then to what extent we should reduce our use, मतलब किस एक्सटेंट तक हमें रिड्यूस करना चाहिए। और अगर हम फोर्सफुली उसको रिड्यूस करेंगे तो फिर किस तरह से, मतलब कब तक वो सरवाइव कर पाएगा। और अगर ये लॉन्ग लास्टिंग सरवाइव कर भी जाए तो फिर भी जो मानव चित्त की जो नेचुरल टेंडेंसी होती है विषय भोग करने की, ठीक, तो उसका हम क्या करेंगे फिर? उसको काबू करना, गीता में भी कहा है भगवान ने कि मतलब मना चंचला ही मना कृष्ण, मतलब अर्जुन जी ने कहा था ये कृष्ण जी मन बहुत चंचल है, तो उस पर काबू पा पाना पॉसिबल नहीं है, हमें उसे फ्री ही छोड़ना होगा। सो और उसे एक डायरेक्शन देना होगा कि आपको सोचना किस चीज के बारे में विचार करना है, चिंतन करना है। तो उस डॉक्यूमेंट्री के हाफ के बाद ही उन्होंने फिर वो जो सब्जेक्ट्स थे उसमें वो लोग योग एंड मेडिटेशन पे चले गए। तो जैसे ही वो लोग योग एंड मेडिटेशन पे गए, देन तुरंत मेरे दिमाग में रामायण की चौपाई आई मानस की कि करहि आहार मूल फल खंदा सुमरहि ब्रह्म सच्चिदानंदा। मतलब इसमें दिखाया है, इसमें तो मुझे लगा ये तो वही हो रहा है, ये अपने मिनिमाइज कर रहे हैं यूसेस को और फिर ब्रह्म का ध्यान कर रहे हैं। तो हो सकता है यही एक पॉसिबल वे हो जो अब हमें सस्टेनेबिलिटी की तरफ ले जाए। और उसके बाद फिर अगर हम ध्यान कर रहे हैं तो फिर किस ईश्वर का कर रहे हैं? तो अगर हम मतलब जैसा हमारे उसमें कहा गया, फिर दूसरी चौपाई ये है ईश्वरांश जीव अविनाशी, कि मतलब जो संपूर्ण जीव है वो ईश्वर के ही अंश हैं। तो अगर संपूर्ण जीव जो ईश्वर के ही अंश हैं तो हमारे अंदर भी है, तो ध्यान करने के लिए सबसे अच्छा हमें हमारे धर्म में जितना भी सिखाया गया है वो ये है कि हम अपने अंदर पे ही ध्यान करें, अपने अंदर की शक्तियों पे ध्यान करें। तो इस तरह ध्यान करने में भी आसानी होती है। और फिर दूसरी, लेकिन धीरे धीरे ध्यान करते करते ये चीज़ें मतलब हमारा सेल्फ जो है वो इतना बड़ा ना हो जाए कि फिर हम सेल्फ को ही सब सब कुछ मानने लगे। तो इसीलिए अगली चौपाई जो आती है दिमाग में, प्रभु व्यापक सर्वस्व समाना, प्रभु जो है सब में समान रूप से व्याप्त हैं। तो इस तरह जब हमारे ये थॉट्स रहेंगे तो हम सबके अंदर अपना अंश देखेंगे, प्रभु का अंश देखेंगे, और फिर हम सबके लिए समान रूप से बिहेव कर पाएंगे। फिर वो जो भोग की प्रवृत्ति या फिर ऐसा लगता है कि रिसोर्सेस कम है, वी शुड यूज मोर या वी शुड स्टोर मोर अपने कंजम्पशन के लिए, तो इस तरह से ये जो भोग का भाव है ये हमारे अंदर नहीं आएगा। और जब हम प्रभु का चिंतन करेंगे तो जब हम प्रभु का चिंतन करेंगे तो प्रभु में ही लीन होने की, तो फिर भोग से हमारी जो भोग की वासना है, भोग की जो इच्छा है हमारी, वो खत्म हो जाती है। और तो सर कंक्लूजन यही है कि मतलब आई वांट टू कंक्लूड माई सेल्फ सर।
हाँ, राइट। थैंक यू अपराध, बहुत सुंदर
थैंक यू
तरीके
सर,
से प्रेजेंट किया। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सर,
तो
प्रणाम सर, चरण स्पर्श सर, प्रणाम।
अब आई इनवाइट नीति अग्रवाल शरण जी, आर यू देयर?
Yes, sir, I'm here. A very good
या
evening
प्लीज गो
to
अहेड। या
everyone sitting over here. The topic of my paper is Ramayan's influence on Indian cultural heritage and sustainability. The Ramayana, attributed to the sage Vālmīki, is more than an epic narrative of a prince's journey. It is a foundational manual for deep ecology and civilizational sustainability. This paper explores the transition of Prince Ram from the urbanity of Ayodhya to the wilderness of the Dandakanya forest, analyzing it as a blueprint for human nature equilibrium. By employing an eco-critical lens, the study examines how the concept of dharma, that is righteousness, is inextricably linked to prakriti, nature, through specific examples of forest taxonomy, animal kinship, and water ethics. The paper argues that the Ramayana provides a proto environmental framework that continues to safeguard India's biodiversity through sacred ecology. Ultimately, it posits that the epic's cultural heritage offers a traditional yet vital solution to contemporary ecological crisis. In world literature, the forest is often portrayed as a dark, chaotic void to be tamed by the hero. In the Ramayana, however, the forest is the site of supreme intellectual and spiritual discourse. Ram's 14-year exile, Vanvas, is not a period of status, but one of profound ecological engagement. The sustainability of Indian civilization is rooted in this rejection of anthropocentrism. Ram's journey is a lesson in living within the limits of nature. As we face a global climate crisis, the Ramayana offers a hermeneutics of recovery, allowing us to rediscover a heritage where human flourishing does not come at the cost of the biosphere. This paper aims to map the intersection of the epic's narrative with moral sustainability goals, providing that Rāmāyaṇa is at its heart an ecological state. Vālmīki Ramayana functions as an ancient botanical record of the Indian subcontinent. His descriptions are not merely poetic flourishes, they are taxonomically accurate observations of flora that held medicinal, ritual, and ecological values. During the exile, Ram, Sita, and Lakshman navigate diverse ecosystems. The text meticulously identifies trees such as Sal, Ashok, and Bakula. These trees represent the climax vegetation of the regions Rama traversed, from the plains of the Ganges to the tropical forest of the south. Ram's residence in these forests is depicted as a period of minimal carbon footprint. He lives in a Parnashala, that is a leaf hut, embodying the modern sustainability ideal of low-impact living. The Ashok Vatika in Lanka, where Sita is imprisoned, is a managed landscape. It represents the height of luxury, but also the domestication and exploitation of nature. Contrast this with the Panchavati forest, a wild, self-sustaining ecosystems where Ram lived in harmony. The Ramayana implicably critiques the over-exploitation of nature for aesthetic pleasure, Ravan's way, in favor of the preservation of the wild, that is Ram's way. One of the most profound influences of the Ramayana on Indian heritage is the elevation of animals to the status of divine allies and sentient beings. The alliance between Ram and the Vanras that are the forest dwellers, is the world's first literary representation of a multi-species for justice. The construction of the Ram Setu was a collective effort involving various species. This narrative fosters a cultural heritage where animal agency is recognized. This has led to a cultural psyche where monkeys, bears, and vultures are protected. For instance, the Hanuman Langur is protected across thousands of Indian villages because of this literary memory, creating a self-sustaining model of wildlife conservation. The vulture king Jatayu sacrifice is a powerful metaphor for the protection of biodiversity. Today, this narrative is utilized by conservationists in India to spearhead vulture conservation breeding centers by framing the vulture as a martyr of the epic. Activists tap into a deep-seated cultural relevance to prevent species extinction. The Ramayana is framed by sacred rivers like the Saryu, the Ganga, the Yamuna, and the Godavari river. In the text, rivers are not mere resources, they are mothers. When Ram crosses the Ganga, he prays for her protection, and she, in turn, is a witness to his dharma. This perspective birthed the Indian concept of the Tirtha because rivers are associated with the epic's journey. They have been protected for centuries through religious taboos against pollution. This section argues that the restoration of India's rivers requires a return to the Ramayana's view of water as a non-negotiable sacred entity rather than an industrial utility. Sita is the literal daughter of the earth. Her relationship with the environment is the core of the epic's sustainability message. The abdiction of Sita is described as an ecological disorder. The trees shed leaves and animals stop grazing. This illustrates that the mistreatment of the feminine earth leads to the collapse of the ecosystem. Her final return to the earth symbolizes the circular economy. She returns to the source, reminding us that all life is borrowed from the soil and must eventually return to maintain the cycle of birth and decay. Rāmāyaṇa is the ultimate Indian ideal of a sustainable state. It reflects the modern triple bottom line of sustainability: wealth distributed without the exploitation of the poor, governance based on the accountability to the humblest citizen. The text describes a state where the seasons were predictable
Yeah, two
and
more
nature,
minutes, please. Two
okay,
more
sir.
minutes.
Okay. And nature was abundant precisely because the ruler followed dharma. Across India, thousands of sacred groves survive today because of their association with Ramayana. In Maharashtra and Kerala, many of these groves are dedicated to Hanuman or Ram. These groves act as micro reservoirs of biodiversity, preserved through a cultural heritage that values spiritual sanctity over commercial extension. I would like to conclude the paper. The Ramayana provides a spiritual and cultural foundation for sustainability that goes deeper than policy or technology. It teaches that the divine resides in the trees, the rivers, and the animals. As India strives to meet global sustainability goals, the Ramayana serves as a reminder that true progress is not the conquest of nature but the restoration of balance. By protecting the earth that birthed Sita, we ensure that the Rāmāyaṇa of future is one where humanity and nature flourish in inseparable harmony. Thank you.
Thank you. So now it's Nidhi Yadav. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Namaste. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
please go
just
ahead.
connect. I think now slide is visible.
Yeah. You can make it full screen, please.
A very good evening to all of you. Myself, Nidhi Yadav, I'm working as a postdoc fellow at NIT Calicut under the mentorship of Professor Shri sir. So my topic is the application of Ramcharitmanas in modern time challenges and the pathway for sustainable development.
Can you make this full screen, please?
Just a minute, I'm doing that. Good. Now I think it's okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So when we talk about this Ramcharitmanas, with the word itself, we can see this is the Grantha or Purana like this, which is talking about the character of Lord Ram. So why we study of that? Because with that we can expect that ideal nature of that Lord Ram, and because of that we consider as a Lord. Normally he is like a human being, but was a king. Everybody knows. So Ramcharitmanas is not a merely a religious or devotional text. It is a comprehensive ethical, social, and governance guide. Through the character of Lord Rama, it presents ideal of dharma, karma, ethical leadership, and harmony with the nature and society. In modern time, we face multiple crises: environmental degradation, governance failures, gender inequality, mental stress, ethical decline, etc. Should this all these problems raises a critical question. So how we can connect this ancient Indian knowledge system or indigenous knowledge system persist in India uh, can suggest the modern sustainability challenges. So this study argues some episode of Ramcharitmanas, as well as here we have tried to see how many studies already published in Scopus database, Web of Science, something, so that because normally people say this is a mythology. It's not a mythology, it's a ancient way of living. So with that, we will try to understand what kind of research is going on, or and what kind of lessons we can learn for the sustainable development goals, especially. So the research objectives are first to extract the lessons from Ramcharitmanas relevant for present day challenges, and then second to analyze selected episodes of the life of Lord Rama. Third, to map these lessons with the specific sustainable development goals. For example, Sustainable Development Goal 3, 4, 5, 15, and 16. So this mapping will allow us to connect this cultural wisdom and knowledge from our ancient literature and ancient system with the global development requirement. If we see the research gap, existing literature on Ramayana is largely philosophical, descriptive, and remains fragmented across disciplines. So there is a limited research that systematically connect the Ramayana-based ethics with the sustainable development goals. So additionally, very few studies uses a rigorous methodology such as Prisma and a systematic review of literature. So this study tries to bridge this ancient wisdom and modern sustainability frameworks through a systematic and interdisciplinary approach. So we see this now, before I go ahead, I would like to read a few that Chand and Sorotha, something that Vālmīki, sorry, Tulsee ji has mentioned before starting in Balkand. Bando Gulpad कंज कृपा सिंधु नर रूप हर महामोत्तम पुंज जासु बचन रवि कर निकर। मतलब मैं उन गुरु महाराज के चरण कमलों की वंदना करता हूँ जो कृपा के समुद्र और नर रूप में श्री हरि ही हैं, जिनके वचन महामोह रूपी घने अंधकार के नाश करने के लिए सूर्य किरणों के सन्मुख है। यहाँ से हम इन चीजों को कोरिलेट कर सकते हैं, जैसे कि गुरु का मतलब है जो हमारे मन के अंधकार को नाश करे। एंड यहाँ पे हम गुरु की वंदना करते हैं और उसमें एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं तुलसीदास जी कि वो नर रूप में श्री हरि ही है। तो जिस तरीके से हमें जीवन जीने के लिए हमेशा गुरु की सहायता चाहिए होती है, और हमेशा गुरु के बाद हम भगवान को पाने के लिए जो भी साधना पूजा पाठ करते हैं, तो हियर इटसेल्फ वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि गुरु और हरि और ईश्वर एक ही है। So before he starts, he says, Bandha Gurpad Padam Paraga, Surach Subas Saras Anuraga, Ame More मैं चूरन चारू समन सकल भव रुच परवारू। मैं उन गुरु महाराज के चरण कमलों की रज की वंदना करता हूँ जो सुरचि सुगंध और अनुराग रूपी रस से भरपूर हैं, और वह अमर मूल का सुंदर चोड़ है जो संपूर्ण भवरोगों के परिवार को नाश करने वाला है। अगर हम रामचरितमानस से देखें कि हम यहाँ जिस राम के चरित्र की वर्णन कर रहे हैं वो गुरु समान ही है, गुरु ही है, और उनको पाने के लिए हम इस समाज में, संसार में जो भी हमें नर रूप में गुरु आते हैं हम उनकी वंदना करते हैं। तो जो भी इस संसार के रोग हैं, विपत्तियां हैं, प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, उन सबका नाश करते हैं। So when we connect with sustainable development goals, here also we are trying to eliminate all the diseases, problems persist all over the world. So here we need to first connect the conceptual thing, why we require sustainable development, why we require sustainable development goals, and why we are talking about the Ramcharitmanas. So here we need not to connect with a specific dharma and some belief system. It is a logical as it is. So next is Sri Guru Padnak Manigan Jyoti Sumrit Dipya Tirasthiya होती दलन मोह तमसो सप्रकाशो बड़े भाग उर आवै जासु। श्री गुरु महाराज के चरण नखों की ज्योति मणियों के प्रकाश के समान है, जिसका स्मरण करते ही हृदय में दिव्य दृष्टि उत्पन्न हो जाती है। वह प्रकाश अज्ञान रूपी अंधकार का नाश करने वाला है। वह जिसके हृदय में आ जाता है उसके बड़े भाग्य हैं। आगे वो बोलते हैं उनके हृदय में आते ही हृदय के निर्मल क्षेत्र खुल जाते हैं और संसार रूपी रात्रि के दोष दुख मिट जाते हैं। श्री रामचरित्र रूपी मणि और माणिक्य गुप्त और प्रकट जहां जिस खान में है वे सब दिखाई देने लगते हैं। ये सब रामचरितमानस के पाठ की महिमा है। जब हम इसका पाठ करते हैं तो ये सब संपत्ति, अष्टलक्ष्मी, ये हमें अनायास ही प्राप्त हो जाती है। तो जब हम इनके पूरे चरित्र का वर्णन करते हैं, पढ़ते हैं, तो हमारे अंदर के जो भी विकार हैं, दोष है, दुख है, उनका नाश हो जाता है। तो why we are connecting this Ramcharitmanas to the sustainable development? Because if each and everyone will adopt these attributes in the life, then only we can talk about the sustainable development. Then only we can achieve the sustainable development goals. If they just correlate this sustainable development goals agenda of this works or that conference, I just would like to everybody know, just recall this development which meets the needs of present generation without compromising the needs of future generation. Here what we are talking, niskam karma. This is here we are talking about the generation, but that is also very narrow kind of definition. That's why we are talking about various sustainable development goals like zero hunger, no poverty, good quality education, partnership with all sustainable development goals. That comes in last. But before we are talking 16 development goals. So when I was discussing to share my mentor Sridharan sir about this thing, like why we need this Ramcharitmanas and all, sir has suggested sir has connected this Vālmīki Ramayana. When Vālmīki ji was asking to that Narad ji, I will just connect that thing, then I will summarize this. Actually, this when we are talking about the technical thing, before that we need to understand what is the practical implications, what are the policy implications. Then it shows some connection. हाँ, सी नारद जी से पूछते हैं वाल्मीकि जी, इस समय संसार में गुणवान, वीरवान, धर्म के कृतज्ञ किए हुए, उपकार को न भूलने वाले, सत्यवादी, दृढ़, अनेक प्रकार के चरित्र करने वाले, प्राणी मात्र के हितैषी, विद्वान, समर्थ, अति दर्शनीय, धैर्यवान, क्रोध को जीतने वाले, तेजस्वी, ईर्ष्या शून्य और युद्ध में क्रुद्ध होने पर भी देवताओं को भयभीत करने वाले कौन है? तब नारद जी उनको बताते हैं कि इसमें प्रॉपर नहीं दिख रहा है कि ये सारे गुण जो धारण करते हैं वो श्री राम है जो इक्ष्वाकु वंश में उत्पन्न हुए हैं। तो यहाँ से हम कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि व्हाट इज द इम्पोर्टेंस of studying the character of Lord Rama. So this is the importance and the justice, requirement to do such kind of study to adopt this Ramayana or Ramcharitmanas in our own life. So now connect with this. With this presentation.
Please conclude.
These are the research objective already discussed. हाँ जी, so research methodology already हमने बता दिया है कि like I have used this Scopus database, Web of Science and qualitative analysis. So just briefly, I am telling there are total records found 501. Out of that, we have finalized 300 something, and this is the figure indicates. Like various studies have been conducted based on Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas. So these are the few sustainable development goals. That's good health and well-being. So good health and well-being, there's quality education, gender equality, life on land, peace, justice, and institutions. For all these sustainable development goals, we can take insight from the Ramcharitmanas. So if we see the policy and social implication, Ramcharitmanas provides ethical foundation for sustainability, indigenous governance model, social and ecological harmony. Here we can learn how Dharma theory and Karma theory, if we conclude together, if we merge together, then we can achieve sustainable outcome. Ancient wisdom complements modern policy. We can learn from that thing. Sustainable development goals we can achieve, and institutional ethics we can learn from that thing. And that is very useful for the public administration, because we need now value-based governance and citizen-centric policies. And Rama is also giving an example of servant leadership that we can use in the modern management. Integrating IKS and ethics is too much required. We can learn from that thing, and it shows a lesson for the society. Like we need a family harmony. If we achieve the family harmony, then only we can achieve the good health, quality education, and all. So environment. Rama was staying in that for 14 years in that forest. So because of that, sustainability and forest richness and biodiversity, only they can survive. Nowadays, it is very difficult. So we need to take a lesson how we can live with biodiversity conservation. So this is all about. So we can conclude that Ramcharitmanas is a living knowledge system, not ancient or indigenous knowledge. It is a living knowledge system. We need to adopt that thing. So it offers solution for the ethical decline, environmental crisis or environmental pollution, and governance failures. So integrating Ramayana or Ramcharitmanas is so it can support for all the sustainable development goals. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I invite Tulsee Giri Goswami ji, if you are there.
Yeah? Yes, sir. Namaskar, sir. I'm there. Sir, I would like to share my presentation.
Yeah, please.
Sir, I wish that the slides are visible. Is it so, sir?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so thank you so much, sir. The title of my presentation is The Ecology of Mind in Ramayana, Mental Health, Mental Well-being and Sustainable Living. That is all about with respect to the Sustainable Development Goal number 3. This paper is written by me and my co-author, Dr. Prakash. He is from Satya Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences. These are the contents of the presentation. So I'll begin with the introduction that we all know that Ramayana is a very rich framework for understanding and cultivating the mental well-being. And in a way, we are trying to align this with the SDG number 3. So the concept we have taken here is ecology of mind. Ecology of mind, where psychological health, moral values, environmental harmony, and social relationship are deeply interwoven and interconnected and narrated in the entire epic. So we'll also try to understand that how inner qualities such as emotional regulation, resilience, compassion, detachment, purpose, and ethical decision making contribute not only to individual mental health, but also to the sustainable model of living. And we'll also try to explore that how Ramayana-based counseling techniques can inform modern mental health interventions and also can promote sustainable behavior. And in the conclusion, we'll try to suggest a model for integrating all these insights into education system, in mental health care and policy. Thereby, we can try to bridge the ancient wisdom and the modern needs. So the aims of this paper are in twofold. First one is to analyze the key dimension of mental well-being, which is discussed in the Ramayana, and second will be how these dimensions can be mobilized in contemporary settings so that we can correlate it with SDG 3. So starting with the conceptual understanding of this ecology of mind, this ecology of mind is interdependence of mental, social and environmental system. Because we know that mental health is not just the absence of illness, but also the presence of harmony. And that harmony is with respect to internally, relationally and ecologically. When we say internally, that means the harmony within our thoughts, emotions and values, and relationally means with our family and community, and ecology means our relation with the mother nature and moral order. So we have seen that in Ramayana, everywhere all these things are very well explained, and interconnection we have seen in that. And it is also mentioned that psychological disturbance like egoism, attachment, violence and jealousy are also seen as breakdowns in social order and environmental imbalance. So Ramayana contains the repeated example of almost all type of characters where we can see the emotional regulation, purpose-driven action, relation support, resilience, and nature-based restoration. So by the end of this paper, we'll try to understand that how this ecology of mind is depicted and how that suggests the path for mental well-being and sustainable living. So here we are highlighting some of the psychological dimension which has been discussed in Ramayana. The first concept is equanimity and acceptance. That we very well we can see with the Rama's composure on Mata Keke's demand. When it confronted with Keke's demand that his coronation been resistant, Rama's response in composed and decisive. Means we can see his behavior provides a model of acceptance, that too without passivity, and abiding by dharma while preserving moral agency. As see, I'll try to recite this in Sanskrit, but it may be if there is any error, please excuse me. Evamastu gamishyami vanam vastu mahat tvavittah jatajin dharo ragyah pratighyamanu palanam. And we can also say in this narration also, when he said that, O Devi, I'm not attached to wealth or any worldly life. Please know me as one who is established in dharma, like a sage or saint. And when he also declared that for 14 years I'll dwell in the solitary forest like a sage, living like a sage, and abstaining from all those exposures or pleasures he had in the in Ayodhya. So all this, whatever has been said or narrated with respect to Prabhu Shri Ram related to Vanvas, no, it deliberates the reduction of consumption and return to minimal needs. This highlights the ethical minimalism, and that is directly related to the sustainable consumption, what is the purpose of Sustainable Development Goal number 12. And from well-being perspective, if we say no, we can understand that by exercising or going for this Vanvas, they will be realizing the reduction in rumination and lower in psychological stress, and aligning this prescription with the modern environmental psychology. Another dimension we have studied is related to resilience, meaning and moral agency. Here we have taken two examples from Mata Sita and Hanuman. When we see that Sita's endurance in Ashok Vatikano, her moral clarity under duress and her refusal to be capitulate to indigeneity exemplify the inner agency, and that refuses both despair and nihilism. Similarly, we have seen in Sundarkand, it illustrates that how Hanuman's integrative and embodied actions, his focused attention, self-efficacy, devotion, and practical problem-solving are archetypal model of purpose, direction, action, and agency. So the psychological model of self-efficacy and behavioral activation, all these finds we can find in analog in Hanuman's task, which is related to the clear goal, graduated action, and perseverant efforts. Another dimension we have taken here, detachment. When Lakshman expresses anger at the Dashrath's injustice, no, Rama responded with philosophy of reflective detachment and acting without attachment to outcome, maintaining his inner balance in dharma. Another dimension we have seen in reflection, like before crossing to exile, no, Rama consulted with Sita and Lakshman. That decision is reflective and dialogue and balancing personal duty with family and environmental sustainability. When he narrated that, now I disclose that what is in my heart, though we must dwell in forest, but my mind is not agitated at all. Then another dimension we have also seen the social support from community and relationship with respect to Bharat's return on and brotherhood. When Bharat refuses for throne after Dashrath's death, even that represents the social connectedness, integrity, and moral anchoring through community ties. Another part in our paper is the with all these dimensions which we have discussed here, how the modern psychological concept and theories are related to this, and how we can use this for applying for the SDG 3. Like for emotional regulation, we have seen the psychological concept is related to mindfulness, emotional regulation, and stress resilience. And if we see with respect to SDG 3, it helps us to reduce anxiety, depression, and better coping strategy. If we see the another dimension like detachment and reflection, these are related to cognitive reprisal, mindfulness, and wisdom of psychology. Similarly, we have seen the social relationship and support dimension with respect to the modern psychology, that is on the basis of attachment theory, social support, and community psychology, which help us to reduce the loneliness and boost up the level of satisfaction in our life. So on the basis of all these studies or all this literature, what we have seen, we can propose that how we can incorporate this Ramayana into our education curriculum and for mental health and counseling and for policy making. If we want to narrate or correlate this with education, no, we can use some of the stanzas or some of the literature from Ayodhya Kand, Aranya Kand, and Sundar Kand, so that it can help the students to build their social emotional learning and reflection and conflict analysis and value-based decision making. Similarly, for counseling and mental health, we have narrated the counseling techniques which were used or based on these dimensions. And for community and relationship practices, what we can do is the cultural narratives can be ethically mobilized in public health and sustainable campaigning. Similarly, for the sustainable lifestyle, what we can do is we can encourage simplicity and mindful consumption, which we have seen in Ramayana. And for environment policy and can also invoke the cultural narratives like forest exile and the respect for animal. These can be used as narration for promoting the conservation, biodiversity, afforestation, and the sustainable resources. So by the end, we try to build this model that what Rama's ecology of mind is and how we can use this is. We can build up our own mind of ecology of mind is with the help of this framework, which we try to list it out as. There are 5 components. The very first component is awareness. If we want to build up our own ecology of mind, we need to develop our own awareness, the self-awareness of our thoughts, our emotions, and values. Then we try to go for the equanimity, means by cultivating the emotional regulation, detachment, and moderation. And then we have to have the clarity in our purposes, clarity of our values, acting according to our dharma and ethical purposes. And then relation support and compassion by cultivating the empathy, connections, and in community. And last but not the least is nature and simplicity, means engaging with the nature, limiting excess, and respecting the environment. So I believe I respected the time. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
you
I
very
owe
well
you
did
all.
that. Thank you. Thank you. Well timed. Thank you. So now the last presenter, if she has joined, Manashi Ghosh. Manashi Ghosh, are you there? So I don't think that she could join. So you may remove your slides, please, Tulsee ji. Can you please remove your slides? Yeah, thank you. So Manashi ji, are you there? I don't think that she could join. So this was the last presentation for today's session. And first of all, I thank all the presenters for very timed and nice presentations. Now we can spend 5-7 minutes, if permitted, for a very brief interaction or brief comment if anyone has or any query for specific presentation, if you have in your minds and you could record that. So most of the presenters are here. So if you want to ask something or you want to say something, we have few minutes.
So I would like to ask.
Yeah.
Some in two presentation there is quantitative study of SDGs.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to understand or know. I'm curious about it. Like how quantifying the qualitative understanding of Ramayana. That's only my question.
Is this question for any specific presenter?
Yes, I think I don't remember the name. Two are qualitative. Venkataraman.
So,
SDG.
if her question is received by the right presenter, if you can, somehow highlight who presented on specifically on the thing which is related to her question. Probably it was are you referring to the scale which they mentioned on?
Yes, sir.
How
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I think that was Vijaykrishnan ji. Was it your paper? Or it was Shri Raman Chandramouli ji?
Yes, both the papers have calculated.
They scaled it up, that somehow. Would you like to respond if you are there?
Sorry, can you just repeat?
So she intends to ask that you try to measure, the outcomes or your understanding on the basis of the kind of a scale you develop. And you said that I think if I remember correctly, it was somehow, the benchmark is Sri Ramcharitmanas, and then there is something of rating which you came up with.
Yes.
Was it? Yeah. So she wants to ask how did you do that?
Okay, so it is basically based on the SDG goals that has been given by United Nations. So the United Nations SDG goals actually defines certain benchmarks that are supposed to be followed. So we took that as a benchmark, and we also took what will be the ideal cases and where and all Vālmīki Ramayana meets those ideal justice cases, most of which met the ideal cases as far as Vālmīki Ramayana is concerned. So we gave a standard rating for Vālmīki Ramayana, and we measured it against the current world and current India.
Okay. How you have calculated 4.6 or 4.5 rating for SDGs, that procedure in current world?
So we took the empirical score. So what we actually did is we compared it with the SDG 12 based on consumption for resource protection. And then we tied it up in a sense with specific shlokas in the Vālmīki Ramayana. And we compared it with UN. Maybe in our paper, we've given the reference of those shlokas as well. We've compared it with the UN's SDGs, World Bank's governance and economic indicators. And while the actual SDG framework follows a 100-point scale, what we actually did was, instead of having a 100-point scale, we converted it into 1/10, which is a 10-point scale, in line with the Raajya benchmark of 10. And within the UN SDG framework, particularly, we used the SDGs 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 17, all of which pertains to the economic sustainability. And for each of these, we assigned an equal weightage. So so each of these 1, 2, everything, we assigned a weightage of 1. Finally, we arrived at a formula. Score was computing using a 30% adjustment for ethical behavior deviations, which is common. Everywhere we can find deviations, right? So for that deviation, we had a 30% adjustment based on one ethical consumption versus overconsumption. Then the next one was based on social harmony versus fragmentation. Third was wages versus labor exploitation. Fourth was ecological balance versus extractive economic model. And finally, it was cooperative alliances against geopolitical distrust, like whatever is happening in China and India, amongst others. And there was a 70% adjustment for the empirical score that comes directly from the United Nations SDG index value. So based on that, we arrived at the formula 0.7, which is 70%, into empirical score plus 0.3 into dharmic alignment score, whatever one weightage that we had given. So based on that, we came up with that value.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other quick comment or question? We can have 3, 4, 5 minutes more. Anyone? Regarding any paper or anything specific if one has? Or should I? Okay. If no one has any question or comments, then once again, thanks to all the presenters for well-timed presentations and very interesting session. Basically, I had a lot to learn from this session, and so many things have come up in terms of how we correlate several aspects of Sri Ramcharitmanas with and Ramayana with sustainability and goals. And then there are so many things to learn, and definitely if we can somehow construct aspects out of these more, then it would definitely be beneficial for the larger audience and people in times to come. Thank you once again.